Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our last lesson under the second examination. Sorry, I thought Yellow B was the last lesson, but there is still Yellow C because this is the new module given to us. This is already the modified module, and I'll be uploading this in the complete sim section. So again, I'm sorry. I will post the examination later in the afternoon, and still our deadline will be on Monday at 11:59 p.m. Okay, so in our last video discussion, we had the registers and varieties of English language. Now, we will be focusing on multimodal text. So this lesson aims to apply the concepts of evaluating messages and images by creating a multimodal text. So, let us begin by defining these terms. First is multimodality. It is the interweaving of two or more modes using text, images, audio, and other visual, oral, or spatial resources. So you can call the text multimodal if there is a combination of images or pictures or words and other for advertisements there is oral, there is also visual, or there is audio, there is visual. So we call it multimodal. Again, do not be confused about the word text because text we commonly understand text as words. However, in this context, when we say text, it could be a poster, so that is example of a text, or a signage, that is a text. Again, it could be multimodal if there is a combination of two or more modes, such as words, or pictures, or audio, or other visual resources. The second one is semiotic system. It is assigning content of signs or semiotics and their meanings in a system or structure. So later on, we will be dealing with multimodality or multimodal text and semiotics or semiotic system. So we will begin with evaluating messages and or images. Why do we need to evaluate messages or images? For example, in advertisements or on social media. Okay, critical evaluation as one of the levels of comprehension advanced by Benjamin Bloom requires a thorough analysis and critical look at information, messages, and images that we get from or use for reading materials, lectures, or presentations for one to obtain or use accurate information. We have to evaluate the messages that we read or the images that we see so that we will know if it's fake or not, or if it's reliable or not, or if it's valid or not. So that is one of the objectives why we need to evaluate messages, especially nowadays that everything is accessible on social media, in the internet. So we have to know if it's valid, if it's reliable, if it's fake. Okay? Moving on. So evaluating messages. Since media messages are developed, they could be altered or disintegrated. Again, as what I have said, many fake news and altered media materials misled people into accepting and believing them. Hence, we have to ensure and we have to make sure that everything we read and everything we see, the texts that we read, the texts that we see, are valid, reliable, and appropriate. So how do we evaluate the messages or the images? These are the guide first, or the guide questions. First, you have to know what is the message. And then you have to ask, what is the purpose of what is the purpose of the message? And then, how is the message conveyed by the text and or image? And then you also ask, who is the target audience of the message? It is very important that when you know the purpose of the message, you also have to know who the audience of the message are. Okay? And what is the effect of the message being conveyed in this manner to the receiver? So these are the guide questions that you have to ask when you evaluate a message or an image. Okay? So next, let us talk about multimodal. Again, it becomes multimodal if there is already a combination of texts, images, audio, visual, or spatial resources. So a text may be multimodal. Again, do not be confused. Commonly, we understand text as words. However, in this case, or in this context, a text could be a signage, what else? A billboard is an example of a text, okay? Because there are already words, there are already pictures, there are colors, there are symbols. So we call it text. Okay, multimodal text. A text may be multimodal if there is a combination of two or more semiotic systems. So these are the 5 semiotic systems. So if the text includes two or more of these semiotic systems, okay, we call it multimodal. First, linguistic. It includes aspects such as vocabulary, generic structure, or both of both oral and written language. So linguistics, more on the vocabulary and the structure of the written or oral language. Second is visual. It includes aspects such as colors, vectors, and still and moving images. So we call it visuals. Okay, the third one is audio. Of course, it includes aspects such as volume, pitch, rhythm of music, and sound effects. So one example of this is the advertisement. Okay, is an advertisement because people are talking in the advertisement, so we call it audio. Gestural includes aspects such as movements, gestures, okay, speed and stillness in facial expression and body movement. And lastly, spatial, it includes aspects such as proximity, direction, the possession of layout, and organization of objects in space. Okay, so these are the 5 semiotic systems, and if there is a combination of 2 or more of these semiotic systems, we call the text as multimodal. Multimodal. Okay, I hope that is clear. So let's have this multimodal text in infographic. This one, the cost of college education in the Philippines, this poster or this infographic is an example of a multimodal text. Why? Because there is already a combination of linguistic, there is also visual, there is also spatial. Okay? So we call it a multimodal text. Infographics is a collection of pictures, charts, and graphs that gives an understanding of a topic's overview. It is used because a human's brain recognizes visual patterns faster than reading texts. And that is true because according to a research, people can only absorb out of 100, they only absorb 10% if there are no visuals, if there are no colors, if there are only words in the presentation. However, if there are visuals like text, like pictures, colors, people can memorize it faster and people can absorb it faster. And somehow, it is stored in the long-term memory of a person. Okay, so that is because our brains scan text sequentially while we can picture different places at the same time. Okay, so that is the reason why we need visuals. Okay, even in the classroom setting, if the teacher keeps on talking and the teacher does not present anything, a PowerPoint presentation, a video presentation, some students, okay, I do not generalize, some students or some students somehow do not listen, and some students may not be interested of what the teacher talks about. Okay, so that is true. Just some students. Okay, so that is an example, or that is an infographic. So we usually see this if there are advertisements about a movie, or there are, I mean, advertisements about environment, like the things we see now, especially on how to how to fight the COVID-19, how to prevent COVID from how to prevent COVID-19, like those things. Okay, so this is an example of infographic. Next is multimodal text in advertisements. Infographics could also be part of an advertisement. Okay, that is why I said how to prevent from having COVID-19. So one example of advertisement. Okay, so advertisements, just like infographics, are multimodal texts also, presenting visuals and linguistic semiotic systems. Ads are the means of many companies to market and promote their products, services, campaigns, or platforms. So of course, this is very effective because it convinces the audience, it convinces the listeners, or it convinces the people to buy the product of a certain company. That is why they really have to incorporate a lot of visuals, even jingles, right? To make it more effective, to make it more appealing. So in that case, it becomes multimodal because there are already there is already a combination of linguistic, oral, spatial, visual. Okay, so that is an example of an advertisement. But of course, again, we have to know, we have to evaluate the messages, or we have to evaluate the text or the images, again, to make sure that it is valid, it is reliable, and it is appropriate. Okay? When you watch advertisements on the television, you have to know that, is this applicable? Is this appropriate for me? Does this fit me? Right? So that is one way of evaluating the message or evaluating the image. Okay. And lastly, okay, multimodal text in editorial cartoon. Okay. Like infographics and advertisements, editorial cartoons are also multimodal in nature because obviously they have visuals, they have images, they also have words or linguistic system. As seen in the example below, or as seen in this example, this one, okay, editorial cartoons achieve multimodality by making use of available semiotic systems in images and words in a single text. So most editorial cartoons talk about politics. So these are commonly seen in the newspapers, or in newspapers and other reading materials. Okay, so this is also a multimodal text. Another one is multimodal text in fundraising for a cause posters. Okay, so just like ads, infographics, and editorial cartoons, posters also employ multimodality. Okay, obviously, you see that there are colors, the visuals, the linguistic system, okay? there are different types of posters. There are promotional posters for films, books, exhibitions, and events. There are also some posters for campaigns or awareness raising posters. And so look at this example. And the one I said about COVID-19, how to prevent from having COVID-19, that could also be done through a poster or promotional poster, raising awareness poster. Okay? How to conserve Mother Nature, okay? How to save planet Earth. So those are examples of posters for campaigns or awareness raising posters. Okay, so those are the things, or those are the topics we need to know about multimodality or multimodal text. Again, do not be confused. In multimodal text, do not misunderstand text that which refers to words only. Again, multimodal text could be a poster, could be an editorial cartoon, it could be an infographic, and it could be in a form of advertisement. Okay, so I hope everything is clear. If you have questions, you may post them in the comment section of our open forum. Okay, so thank you. Have a good day.